So we've just witnessed probably the baddest Holden engine, well, certainly that I've ever filmed, and probably even yourself, Ange, you've
definitely this one.
Definitely built.
Oh yes.
900 plus horsepower. Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown of, well, how you guys have been able to achieve that?
Well, this time with this particular build, I actually teamed up with Pete Murray here, who's from up in Queensland. Yep. Obviously, we're down in Victoria, us Mexicans. Pete's the induction guru, and I think before this actually started, I sort of engaged Pete to help me with this, especially with the top end, because I knew that we could build a stout bottom end using the torque power block, but as we know, the power comes from the top, and that's where he came in. And last time we were here, same time when I spoke about the cylinder heads, remember I said to you it was all about science, the mad guru, you know, the mad scientist? Well, that's this bloke here. So this time we've actually been able to collaborate together, and it's been fantastic.
So just to go back, that engine made, I think, a bit over 700.
Yeah, with race fuel, from memory, I think it was a 713 or something like that. Yeah,
and that was a conventional Holden.
Yeah, that was all standard Holden. So I know there's going to be a lot of people saying, "Oh, but this isn't Holden," but that was all Holden. Yeah. And to be fair, this engine actually started off was going to be all Holden. So we bought a stroker kit, your standard scat crank, Oliver rods. But when we decided to go torque power, I actually kept that and kept that crank to put in this block. So I kept a 375 stroke. So this doesn't take a Chev crank or nothing like that. It is all still Holden. So so that's one thing we're lucky with. You didn't have to spend the extra money. When it comes to the Chev guys and even your Ford guys, you can buy the aftermarket stuff, right? So the aftermarket stuff, if you want a decent block, you go to the Dart. Now Dart has an SHP or a little M, which gets a little bit sort of up there for more grunt, thicker castings and what have you. We don't have that with the Holdens, but Craig from Torque Power has developed something now. It's the same thing. Basically, this is a conventional Holden setup, all right? It takes Holden gear right through it, except obviously he's modified the bits where Holden falls down. Priority mains oiling, 50mm cam core, needle roller bearings in the cam, which is fantastic. And we've got 5 4-bolt main caps, which are ductile iron, which we don't get that with the Holden. When we usually do them, it's all 3 bolts in the guts. So this is a cast block, not an aluminium one, which he does do an alloy one.
So what sort of cubic inch are we talking about then?
So what we did with Pete, we're trying to work out, obviously to make the heads work, because I'll let Pete talk about the heads, but to get the heads to flow with the size that they are, we needed a big cylinder. So we needed a lot of volume. So it was a standard 4.155 bore. We ended up boring this out to 4.175, so we could get that bit of extra volume, because we only had that short 3.75 stroke. Not the 4-inch stroke, which a lot of people will go to, but we didn't want to go that way because we wanted to get some RPM. And you'll see in the video, this thing
she
screams.
certainly revs.
Yeah. To do that, we went the bigger piston, which got the induction system working, I think, pretty spot on, Petey.
Yeah, it's done pretty well, hasn't it?
Definitely. Basically, with the cubic inch of the engine, what we've done is we've gone 3.75 stroke with a 4.175 bore, which gives us in the excess of 411 cubes. Yeah.
And we're obviously running a fair bit of compression in it to achieve
it's got
this
a lot.
horsepower.
Look, this thing was built to see how much grunt we could make, obviously with the cylinders and that, so we had to run as much comp as we could. Now, a lot of things come into play with this sort of stuff too, piston and valve cleaners and all sort of stuff. So in the end, we ran about 14.75 to 1 in it, which is up there. Probably Pete would have liked to have seen a little bit more, but that's just where we came. That was safe, you know, with clearance issues and that sort of stuff. So yeah, so that's where we ended up in the final compression ratio.
Now, in terms of the heads, I hear you've spent, was it over 40 hours?
Yeah, more than that. More than that.
Pete's only 20 years old, by the way.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. 40 hours in the intake alone. The heads themselves, they were probably close to 40 hours, but there was a lot of development work that led up to that as well. Yes. So we were lucky enough, Craig gave us a test head. We actually had to do a lot of work before there were any parts purchased or ordered. Definitely. So we had no camshaft, we had no pistons. We wanted to keep it a flat top piston, so we didn't have to make a chamber mould and send it to America. So as much comp as we could get in it, but rather than make the piston, the valve pocket as deep as possible and give up real estate, which is compression, we had to contact the manufacturer for the camshaft and get specific points, and then we worked it out theoretically. We actually made a spreadsheet to work out piston to valve clearance. We had to do all this stuff before we even ordered pistons. So once we worked out, we calculated what we should have. When Craig gave us the cylinder head, we also made some test valves because we didn't have valves yet. No. So we didn't know what the valve drop was in the cylinder head and all that sort of stuff. So we had to sort of do all this stuff before we actually ordered parts. And I had numbers that I didn't give to anyone that I thought it would make, but I didn't want to say them in case it didn't.
Yeah, but you're quietly confident.
Yeah. The maths doesn't lie at the end of the day, and we sort of ran the numbers and ran it through some simulators, and based on the testing we'd done, and we knew it would make good power.
And you guys are turning this to what, was it 87 or 8800?
88 we went to.
It doesn't sound like it's revving that high.
No, not at all.
Honestly, it sounds like it's a 7,500
It does.
RPM.
We could have gone harder, but I think, how far do you go?
Where do you go now?
There's always a limitation with everything, you know. Whether and the other thing too, being a 2-speed car, we also took that into mind as well. We could have gone for even higher RPM and a narrower power band, but all those factors are taken into account.
One
as well.
thing that obviously showed up on the dyno is the massive spread of torque. It's making like north of 550 foot-pounds pretty much for that whole spread, isn't it?
That's right. From I think 6,600 through to 8,600, it holds over 560 foot-pounds.
I've known Dom, the owner, for about 20 years now. Beautiful car, as you can tell by the engine, is absolutely beautifully presented. Most don't go to the detail of painting the Clearview oil system. The car's gone, what, I think 9.4?
It did, I think it was 948.
948, and that's on a standard suspension style LX hatchback on a 255. So this is going to be quite the handful. And that made, I think Dom said it made about 690 horsepower previously to run.
I remember that one there. I think that was 673.
673.
But and that was a while ago too. Yeah. A lot of people, things have developed a lot since then too. So we're probably a little bit behind the 8-ball. But this isn't about beating everyone.
No.
This is obviously about what products are out there, what can we do with the products, and giving it a crack, keeping the Holden alive, which is good. You know? And we'll know once the engine's in the car when he runs it.
Talking about results, like we've made 944 today, but it made very similar power with a 2-inch spacer. Straight up it made, I think, you were putting a couple of degrees timing and it was I think you were getting like 40 horsepower each time you ran.
It was. The crazy thing about it was, so Pete made a couple of different spacers for it. We've got a 2-inch and a 3-inch. And what we found with the 2-inch, because the plenum has been heavily modified internally in the manifold, I think we've got the plenum volume. We did the 3-inch to see, but until it goes in the car, we won't know, but I think it was pretty right even with the 2-inch spacer on there. We got the power. Now, the fuel we used today is another big one. So we used the Pro Drag ETS fuel, which worked fantastic, but then we ran across the road to Zoran at Competition Engines and got some of that
XPG 105.
It didn't really change that much in this engine because we probably think that the engine was, it's where it's at. You know what I mean? It's efficient where it is, the amount of timing we had in it. So this thing will stay at the ETS. You know what I mean? Obviously for the owner, it's a little bit cheaper to run. But we'll know what it does when it's in the car, what it runs. But and the owner's happy. There's no need to make any more power. We know it's efficient and we know the combination. It's not an easy thing to do this, you know, but and this has taken probably a couple of years of development too. It's not just something that can happen overnight. So
there's always limitations. It's usually budget, which I understand, but the fact that Dom, he never really questioned.
Never questions the dollar.
He just he had a goal, and I know from dealing with other people whether guys are going to go for what we really want to see out of an engine, and he was on board with it the whole way.
Poor bugger, towards the end he was getting a little bit tubby though, wasn't he? But
it nearly broke us.
It did, and he was nearly broken too. But I think today that's all gone.
I'm glad for you guys and Dom.
Thank you.
That couldn't have gone better today, could it?
No, to be honest with you, it's tomorrow. I think I'll hit.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of people involved to put this together. We just film it here today over a few hours, but this is a lot of work, isn't it, Ange?
Oh man, killer! Look, I've got to be. To be honest, I'll be lucky because Dom and James, they sourced most of the products. You know what I mean? I was just the idiot that put it together. Yeah.
And just, I mean, these pipes alone, they're beautiful.
Oh, Steve from Boosted Fabrications, fantastic. I didn't know the guy previous to this, but now I've gotten to know him, and the people you meet along this journey that you're doing this stuff, how good. So someone that I can send customers to and be confident with the work that he does, it's amazing, you know. Again, George from RaceMax, we got the lifters from him. I think you dealt with him
George
this
is
time.
awesome.
George is just fantastic.
One of the most helpful people in the industry.
Yeah, because they weren't just off the shelf either, you know, they're offset and
yeah, so
904.
There's a bit of a story about that too, because we didn't have a camshaft, we didn't have a lot of bits, we had a block, so I 3D printed some dummy lifters with different offsets, and then that way we could see what diameter pushrod and what shape pushrod we could put in there. So we tried straight, double taper, single taper. So these are all sort of behind the scenes things we had to do before. Then we rang George and said we want a lifter with this offset, and then we knew, and there was a lot of work in making it all fit too. Yeah. So that was one of the other things that we wanted to achieve, was so that when Ange built the engine, there was as least amount of machining involved once it was going together. So
Ray from Ray J Carbies, obviously, he built and supplied the carbine.
Good, yeah, very smart man.
Yeah,
very,
great product.
Very
Was it helpful
rated.
today?
Yeah, so it's a 4150 BX4X, so like a big blade 4150.
And obviously, I think has Danko from Addicted Performance. I mean, he's patient. Yeah. You know, he's fantastic. You know, and he's got that killer laugh, and he's fantastic with even like I said last time. I love working with that bloke, and always gets the result. Yeah? And getting Pete down from Queensland today was good.
No one knows I'm here, so that's good.
Oh yeah, they do now.
Yeah, they do now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good working with good people. Everyone's on the same page, so and you can see the results when you're working with good people.
Yeah. If you haven't seen our collection of 90s retro merch yet, what are you doing? We have many different styles on offer in both tees and hoodies, so grab one today. Oh, this is like rookie filming 101. Sorry. Well, I shouldn't speak too soon because I haven't even checked if my
I'll turn
mine
mine
off.
off. Yeah.
My mum's already rang, so that's all right.
Oh yeah, it's off now.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, mate.
When do we go for a ride?